Would you look at what we got going on in Hard Rock, folks?
Where's TheU? Man, TheU is tradition. TheU is family. TheU is brotherhood. TheU is hard work.
I'm hurt, dog. Don't ask me if I'm all right. Hell no. What he said down there, and we not doing it. I put my heart in this, dog. Let's go, man.
Xavier Restrepo with the Miami touchdown.
And it is touchdown. Andre Johnson was all by himself. Throws intercepted, and that's going to be returned by Sean Taylor for a Miami touchdown.
We talking about practice. Not a game, not a game, not a game. We talking about practice.
We want to execute better. We want to play winning football. To play winning football, you've got to practice winning football.
Big time players step up in big games.
Yo, what's going on, Canes fans? All our Storm Chasers in the building, rivals tuned in, viewers, listeners, what's going on, man? We are tuned in to another special episode of Category 6 Sports. I got my co-host, my man, Big Homie. Big Homie, what's going on, man?
What's good, bro? How you feeling?
Hey, man, feeling great. You know, July is wrapping up. We got a lot of recruits on the way. And speaking of recruits, we had a 2026 quarterback, you know, in the last few weeks, past month, who committed to the University of Miami. And we got his quarterback coach and trainer, Coach Baylin Trujillo, on the line with us, man. So we're going to chop it up with him. So without further ado, let's bring on Coach. Coach, what's going on, man?
What's going on, guys? Blessed to be here. Blessed to talk about Hurricane football, especially when it comes to one of my quarterback trainees who you just mentioned recently committed to the University of Miami. So blessed enough to have been a quarterback trainer for the last 10 years, and he's my first ever Miami Hurricane, and we're talking about Dereon Coleman.
Yes, sir. Absolutely, man. Before we get into it and get started, man, I need all my Storm Chasers, viewers, and listeners to please hit the like button, hit subscribe, and make sure you tune in to not only this episode, but all the new episodes we got coming for you here at Category 6 Sports, man. So, Coach, you know, before we talk about the legendary 2026 quarterback in Dereon Coleman that you've been training and developing, I want to get started with kind of the roots of how you not only became a Miami Hurricanes fan, but how you became a well-known trainer in the Orlando area for quarterbacks, man. So first and foremost, let's talk about your background early on. How did you become a Miami Hurricane, and how did you get to where you are today?
Yeah, so my dad grew up in Miami, and he was born and raised in Miami. He went to Coral Gables High School, which is a couple blocks away from the University of Miami. And so as a kid growing up, my dad, whenever we'd visit my family in Miami, we'd go to Hurricane games and just be around the university because it was only a couple blocks away. And at that time that I was growing up, it was a great time to be a Hurricane fan. You know, I grew up in the 90s and the early 2000s, going to Miami about 4 or 5 times a year, and it was rocking. I mean, we're talking national championships. We're talking some of the best players ever walk through universities, walk around campus. Also, you know, arguably the best team to ever step foot on a football field in 2001. So, I mean, you know, I was blessed to be in that era growing up, and you know, my dad telling me about the legends that were going through Miami and some of the historical moments at the Orange Bowl, the old Orange Bowl, which I was blessed enough to see a couple games there. Unfortunately, it's not there anymore, but just to be a part of that tradition, you know, growing up as a kid, I just wanted to be a Hurricane my whole life. You know, going to Randy Shannon football camps as a kid, you know, just doing that whole thing, man. It was something about that green and orange was just so attractive. And so, you know, growing up, you know, playing quarterback and baseball and basketball as well, you know, I just somehow wanted to be a Miami Hurricane. And unfortunately, you know, they did not recruit me. I mean, it is what it is. But at the time that I was coming out of high school, Ja'Cory Harris was one of the top quarterbacks in the country. Had just committed there. Also, Teddy Bridgewater's backup. So, you know, I graduated in 2010. So I actually got to play against Ja'Cory Harris in the state championship in Orlando when I was at Boone High School in 2008. I believe that was arguably one of the best programs in high school football ever. That Miami Northwestern team, they had 23 Division I commits, and 8 of them went to the University of Miami. And so it was literally like playing against Miami in high school. And then you fast forward a couple years later, I'm going to USF. You know, you see my jersey back here. I got to play at USF in 2011 and 12, and I actually got to play against the University of Miami. So it was a surreal moment for me when that happened. You know, again, as a kid and a fan, getting to play against them in 2011. We lost 6-3, one of the weirdest games. By the way, this is my son, Grayson Cane. So, Grayson, throw up to you. Show him to you. There it is. Okay.
There we go.
Yeah, he's already a Cane.
Middle name Cane, and he's throwing up the U already.
Right.
Already, yeah, man. You're raising him right.
So, but yeah, man. So that was pretty much my story. You know, as a Canes fan and growing up a Canes fan, because again, my dad's from Miami, and so my uncle actually went to University of Miami as well. And so I have some alumni in my family tree that's at UM, and so yeah, that's basically what it was. But yeah, got to play against them, and then through that process, you know, continue being a Hurricanes fan. Again, it's unfortunate they never recruited me, but again, still going to be a Canes fan through and through, and that's all I knew as a kid. And so obviously you just mentioned my son's name is Grayson Cane Trujillo, so I'm kind of already setting up his legacy to become a Hurricane maybe one day. And then going to Dereon, who's our now new quarterback commit, transitioning over there. You know, being a quarterback trainer for the last 10 years has been awesome. I've trained over 34 Division I quarterbacks. We currently have about 6 or 7 in the NFL, CFL, XFL arena right now. One of them is N'Kosi Perry, who was a former Miami Hurricane. So he's been training with me before he went overseas to play some football. And so it's been a blessing there. And again, just been blessed to do Elite 11 for 6 years and meet a lot of different people, build a big network where now I travel all across the country and put on my own quarterback camps. Recently had one this past Sunday where Dereon was at as well, and he got to talk to the kids a little bit. So, just been doing this thing for a while, and I just, again, been blessed to coach guys like Dereon Coleman, Noah Grubbs, who just committed to Notre Dame, Brady Hart, that's at Michigan now, and I got pretty much a loaded 2026 class where there's guys traveling all across the country from Canada, Seattle, Oklahoma, Virginia, Ohio. They're all coming to train. So it's, again, been a humble blessing. And for Dereon's sake, I take pride in him specifically because I've been training him since he was 10 years old. So if you do the math, I've been doing this for 10 years. 7 of those years I was with Dereon and seeing him grow up to who he is today. And like I said, I couldn't be more happy that he's my first Hurricane.
First Hurricane, Coach. Hopefully it won't be your last. I know you say you train a lot of people. What other quarterbacks in this class have you trained?
So in this class specifically, or you're talking about in general?
In general.
Man. So you can there was a
specifically in general.
Yeah. So this class I just mentioned 3 of the guys. So you got Dereon Coleman, Miami commit, Noah Grubbs, a Notre Dame commit, Brady Hart, a Michigan commit. All of those guys were getting recruited by Miami pretty heavily. I got Braylon Sanchez. I got Connor Quintero. I got Rocco Williams, who's got 7+ D1 offers. I got Tyson Davison, Jackson Presley. I mean, these are just guys in the 26 class. And then overall, I've trained Mackenzie Milton, John Rice Plumley, DeAndre Francois, Jordan McLeod, Blake Boda, Tim McClain, Riley Trujillo, Dylan Risk, Davi Belfort. There's just so many. Marvin Washington, Blake Sear, Brennan Sear. Even my cousin played at Valdosta State, Cohen Kohler. There's just so many. It's like I don't want to forget anybody, but those are some of the more notable ones. Obviously, I just mentioned N'Kosi Perry. There's been a big. I've been with Elite 11 too. So I've trained and. Well, not trained, but I've coached Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Kellen Mond. Again, some of the top guys that's ever, Joe Milton, Brian Maurer. So these guys are playing all high-level football, and so I've been blessed enough to be in contact with them and train them and also coach some of these guys in different camps. So that's some of the guys that come to my mind right now.
Coach, you named, a tremendous amount of names with a lot of different talent, throughout the years, right? And you talked about recently how you've been doing this for over 10 years. And you being at advanced quarterback camp, right? You don't just harp on being a quarterback trainer. You kind of do it all. Talk to and explain to us and the listeners kind of how the network that you have built throughout the last 10 years and some of the skills and traits you have learned personally, how has that helped you grow along the way? And also, how has it helped make you implement these things into the guys you are training to help them grow as well?
Yeah, like I said, I'm very big on networking. That's what I do, and that's why I love doing the camps and traveling and doing all that. Through this business, I've met guys like Kurt Warner, Quincy Carter, Jeff Blake, Charlie Ward, some of these big names, that Daniel Jones. These guys are all part of my camp and been doing virtual schools with me. And like I said, whenever I travel, they work in my camps. Kevin Olson, Greg Olson. Again, I've gotten guys that played the highest level. Devin Hester, who's right now in Orlando. again, building that network and just trying to get the right people around me. I think that's what it's always been about. And so through that and learning through their experiences, I mean, there was one time where Kurt Warner's calling me at 10:30 at night on a FaceTime and trying to teach me some different things with, drop steps, back foot, front foot, stuff like that. So, and that was like 4 or 5 years ago. And I've still connected with him through this time. And Quincy Carter's like one of my best friends, who was a former Dallas Cowboy quarterback, did really good things at Georgia. And so, again, he calls me about once or twice a week, and we just talk and chop it up, because now I got him into quarterback training in Dallas and in Georgia as well. So, again, just trying to build this network around me. But yeah, I think what I take most pride in is the network of coaches that I built over the years to get my guys that I train in front of the right guys to get offers and hopefully live out their dream. That's why I quarterback train. I take pride in that. And, as you guys watch my social media, you'll see how I market my quarterbacks. And I'm very big on promoting them. A lot of these quarterback trainers out there, they're all about the check, right? Because quarterback, you can make a lot of money in this business, but I'm not about the money. I'm about these kids living out their dreams. So I'm much more than just your trainer. I'm your mentor, your recruiter, your encourager. I'm just there for you no matter what, right? So I'm there as an access for all these kids that I train, so that they're able to, navigate through this process and hopefully live out their dream, which is at the end of the day, what every coach should have the goal of getting all the kids that they get in contact with to experience that time where they can announce a commitment and then sign on signing day and change their families' lives.
Today's segment is brought to you by our guy, Coach Ferg at Slab Kitchen in Daytona Beach, Florida. If you want the best slab sauce in the state, head on over to 467 South Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. Not only can you get the famous slab sauce in a bottle to take at home and put in your kitchen, but you also got the double backhand sandwich, which is a combination of a grilled cheese and a cheeseburger. You got your normal shrimp, your chicken wings, and of course, tons of fresh choices of lemonade. My personal favorite being the blue raspberry blow pop. So please go stop, show some love to Coach Ferg at Slab Kitchen over on 467 South Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard in Daytona Beach, Florida. That's 467 South Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard in Daytona Beach, Florida.
So, Coach, I heard you keep telling us you went to Elite 11, which is great. What quarterback out there that you seen, and you just knew, no doubt he was going to be in the pros, first rounders and all that? Who was your favorite quarterback at the Elite 11?
Yeah, I mean, I think Justin Fields really, he won the MVP when I was there. Also, Trevor Lawrence, obviously we see what he's doing now. Joe Milton, he blew up. He's from Orlando, so I never really trained him, but I got to coach him in some 7-on-7 stuff. Another familiar name that you guys might have heard of, Art Satowski, who always a Hurricane commit, ended up going to Illinois and playing over there, and he's coaching over there now. One of my good friends now, but I was actually his coach in 7-on-7. He played with Joe Milton, but both those guys made a big name for themselves in Elite 11 here. But from my remembering of doing that for 6 years, I think the one that stuck out the most was probably Justin Fields or Kellen Mond. Kellen Mond really lit it up here too as well. He played at Texas A&M, was a starter there for several years. I believe he's still in the NFL today. So those were the guys that kind of stuck out from where, from me coaching that position for 6 years.
Good old Art Satowski from IMG, man. I remember that recruitment process like it was yesterday, man. That's a name a lot of Cane fans quickly forget, especially in the recruiting atmosphere, man.
Yeah, that was
man. As you know, Coach, right? All three of us being Miami Hurricane fans and the fan base alone, we had this stigma about us, right? About how South Florida is kind of by itself. The talent, from top to bottom, regardless of what position group you can throw out there. I mean, we produce it, right? But you being a Central Florida guy and also being a Miami Hurricane fan, I want you to talk about, the specific chip on your shoulder that you bring to the table, knowing that you are training a lot of these young up-and-coming guys, specifically in Central Florida, why you're trying to put Central Florida on the map to kind of being that pedigree similar to how South Florida is alone when it comes to recruiting, specifically at quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, we all know this, and I've been doing podcasts the last 2-3 weeks about this specific topic, and everybody's wondering why Central Florida now finally on the map when it comes to the quarterback position. Well, at the end of the day, guys, let's not sugarcoat it. Florida has the best talent ever. In the history of football, Florida will always produce the best talent. All the best guys from the NFL that are producing are from the state of Florida. Not saying that they played at the state universities, but I'm saying they come from the state of Florida, most specifically down south in Miami. But whenever it comes to a competition level that you're playing every single week, all the talent that you see, your scheduling, right? everybody has to have a trigger man. So it's been unfortunate that kind of the quarterback position here has been overlooked, especially in the last couple of decades, and everybody's going to the Georgias, the Texases, and the Californias to find quarterbacks, but there really hasn't been true elite quarterback training, and that's now kind of changing here in the state of Florida. Obviously, I would love to be in that conversation, but you have really good guys down south. You have some guys in Tampa, some good guys that a lot of people know in Jacksonville. And so, I take pride in hopefully being a part of that conversation of trying to change the narrative here in the state of Florida about quarterback development. Obviously there's a lot of talent, makes quarterbacks look good on film. When you throw a 5-yard hitch route, those guys can take it 90 yards. But at the end of the day, with the development of how these quarterbacks are being built here in the state of Florida, now they're going out to camps like the Elite 11s and the Rivals and the 24/7 camps, and they're putting on performances against some of these guys that, some guys would say, hey, are ranked at this position or have these certain stars, and they're putting on shows where these guys are like, whoa, what's going on here in Central Florida that's making a noise? And then they come see the work, and then they see the competition, and they're like, okay, they're for real. That's a conversation with Noah Grubbs, who threw 49 touchdowns in the highest classification. You got Brady Hart, who arguably had the hardest schedule out of all the guys in the country. He went 14-1 with a state championship. Dereon Coleman, who, split time with a 4-star quarterback last year that was committed to Ole Miss. And, they went all the way to state semifinals, which he led that team too. So, there's all the guys that are getting, Dia Bell's making noise at American Heritage, who's a nationally ranked powerhouse. Will Griffin's doing some really good things at Jesuit, who's a private school in Tampa. So you're talking about, 5 or 6 of the top guys in the entire country are right here in Central Florida or the state of Florida because of the competition level and what they're doing every single week. And on top of that, with the elite quarterback training that's happening, where those guys are ready for the moment when they go to those big time camps to really show that they belong, or even if they stand out over all those other guys.
Today's segment is brought to you by our guy, Coach Ferg at Slap Kitchen in Daytona Beach, Florida. If you want the best slap sauce in the state, head on over to 467 South Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. Not only can you get the famous slap sauce in a bottle to take at home and put in your kitchen, but you also got the double backhand sandwich, which is a combination of a grilled cheese and a cheeseburger. You got your normal shrimp, your chicken wings, and of course, tons of fresh choices of lemonade. My personal favorite being the blue raspberry blow pop. So please go stop, show some love to Coach Ferg at Slap Kitchen over on 467 South Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard in Daytona Beach, Florida. That's 467 South Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard in Daytona Beach, Florida.
Coach, how was the transition? Because I know Coleman played in Polk County when he first got to high school, then transferred to Orlando. How do you think he kept that same high level of play? Because he's going from one good county to a rising Central Florida county.
Yeah, that was all part of the plan. That was my plan for Dereon and his dad. We always had a plan for Dereon. Everything that Dereon has done in his life has been a chess piece and a chess play. So, everybody is, wondering how these things are happening with Dereon. It was always planned out. By God's grace, it all worked out for him. And, it's funny when he was 10 years old training with me, and I would tell him after training, I'm molding you to be the next Miami Hurricanes quarterback. And at the time, Oklahoma was really the school that was producing the quarterback U, right, with Heisman winners back to back to back. So, everybody was all excited about the quarterback position in Oklahoma. So that was like his dream. But my dream, obviously, was to mold him into being a Hurricane, and that's ultimately what happened. But it's ironic that both schools came down to Oklahoma and Miami. That was his final 2 schools. UCF kind of squeezed in there late, but it was really between those 2 schools, and he ended up choosing the Miami Hurricanes to stay in state and play for his state team. So, but everything that we've done with his life, whether it was, putting him in 7-on-7s down south with specific teams, with coaches that have connections with University of Miami, which that was all strategic by me. Also getting him to Polk County, which was really the only county to start him as an 8th grader on varsity. So he was able to do that at Fort Meade, lit it up as an 8th grader. And then at that point, I grabbed him and came to Jones High School, which is where my former head coach is now the head coach at, Elijah Williams, who played at the University of Florida, played for the Atlanta Falcons. He changed my life, and I knew what his coaching would do for Dereon. And so that's why that whole thing happens, where I said, hey, freshman year, we're going to Jones High School. We're going to get the green light. Once your family decides that they want to make the move, because they actually had to move to Orlando. They did it like after game 3 or 4 of his freshman year, and they They completely left Plant City in the middle of the season and was like, we're betting on Jones and we're going to do this thing. And that's what they did. And I mean, now we're sitting here as a Miami Hurricane commit with over 20 plus offers for Dereon. But for Dereon and Central Florida and Polk County, I mean, yes, they're two different counties, great talent in both counties. But I think when you talk about the mecca of Central Florida, obviously Orlando with the likes of Jones High School, Edgewater, Osceola, Dr. Phillips, Lake Mary, Apopka. You're talking about Seminole. You're the best of the best is right here in Central Florida. So by putting Dereon at Jones, where they have to see all these teams, it's only going to make you prove yourself more by playing against that top tier talent. Whereas in Polk County, you have a Lakeland. You might have a good Auburndale up and down. Armwood might be up and down. Those guys are good programs, but they're not consistently powerhouses like it is here in Orlando. So strategically placing Dereon at Jones for the next 3 years of him being at Jones, he was going to have to see the best competition and be put on a bigger platform and a bigger stage, along with playing under my former head coach, Elijah Williams, as well as training with me consistently and being closer. It just made sense. And it was, again, a chess piece that we finally hit checkmate when he committed to Miami.
Absolutely, Coach. I mean, you couldn't have said it any better. And we're going to dive into Dereon Coleman and the situation, how it occurred of him becoming a Miami Hurricane, how you have trained and developed him, in the last 10, since he was 10 years old, right? All right, we're right back here with Coach Baylin Trujillo with Advanced Quarterback Camp. As y'all know, I got my co-host Big Homie here with me in the building. Storm Chasers continue to show some love in the chat and hit that like and subscribe button. But, going into Dereon Coleman, right, we talked a little bit about your background, but now we get to dive into some of our favorite recruits in this class in the future of 2026, with your guy Dereon Coleman being one of them. Let's just start from the beginning, right? I know in other interviews and recent articles, you kind of mentioned how besides Dereon's father at the age of 10 years old, it's really been you, right? That's kind of gravitated towards Dereon Coleman and kind of showed him the ropes and developed and teaching him, the attributes he's carrying with him today. Talk about the development and just how he's evolutionized his game in the last few years under you.
Yeah, so I mean, like you just mentioned, his dad really did a good job. I mean, he knew he had a gift at 4 years old by throwing a baseball. Actually, his first real sport that he got into was baseball. He's played some basketball, and then obviously it's been football ever since he was 10. But I just know from I would say a fundamental standpoint, he was already kind of understanding the game because his dad played quarterback at Florida A&M, and his dad has a quarterback background, also playing in Polk County. So he had that fundamental background growing up when he was younger, but then his dad finally turned him over to me after a football camp that we did when he was 10 at a FBU All-American camp. And he loved how hard I was on his son. I mean, he's like, he literally told me word for word after the camp. He's like, I've never seen another coach treat my son like that other than myself, talking about him. And when he said that, he's like, I'm ready to turn the keys over because I'm tired of, doing it all myself. I need someone to take him to that next level. And so he trusted me with that. And I mean, after that point, it was literally 4 or 5 times a week. He would literally drive over an hour just to train with me. Everywhere that I went across the state of Florida, he would show up, whether it was a training, a camp, a news story, an article, no matter what. Dereon Coleman was there with his dad and his mom, and they were all in. And so, getting to see him develop and mature as a young man, I think that was what was special in this whole process. And this is why I can honestly say, if you guys all see this, as I say, Dereon is the most elite arm I train. Now, I say that confidently because I've seen him develop from 10 till now he's 17 years old. So other guys like Noah Grubbs, Brady Hart, that a lot of these guys are starting to see in the 26 class that I train, they're obviously elite arms. But I've had them since, for 2 or 3 years now, whereas I've had Dereon since he was a little boy, So there's a big difference. Now Brady and Noah didn't have quarterback trainers and didn't have development. So, yes, I've developed those two and have turned their games around, which is why they're elite. I'm not saying that they're not elite arms. What I'm saying is from someone who I've literally built from the ground up, that Dereon Coleman is the most elite arm I've ever trained, point blank, period. And so that's why I get excited about Dereon Coleman. As I've seen him mature, I think the mental standpoint for me, for Dereon, because he's always had the physical gifts to do it. I mean, there's video clips on YouTube of him training with DeAndre Francois when he was at Florida State with a bunch of FSU receivers.
Please.
Yeah, no doubt.
Football and quarterback.
Yeah, so everybody has to understand that there's a process when it comes to quarterback position, not just because you can throw a ball, but because you actually understand the game, and that's going through your footwork sequencing, your route concepts. I mean, you have to understand that everything that you do footwork-wise has a timing and a purpose to it based off route concept and sequencing and stuff like that. So teaching my guys early the sequencing of timing routes and footwork development, that's what's going to make the game slow. Now, if you watch the guys that I train, and I take pride in this, watch how slow they play the game, because they're in control of the situation, not making the play faster than what it is. You're, as the quarterback, the ball's in your hands, so you dictate the timing of everything, whether you want to throw it now or you want to throw in space, in a hole, or in a specific area. You have the control of that. So understanding that, the only way to understand that is to understand the game and coverages, how to beat coverages, leverages, route concepts, protections, anything like that that's going to help you advance your game to the next level, rather than just being a quarterback that they can throw the ball. So that takes a lot of time and a lot of years and a lot of film work. That's why film is very important, and that's why it takes a lot of time to develop as a quarterback. But at the end of the day, the film and here is what's going to separate you from being an athlete that can throw, or a quarterback that can throw who becomes an athlete. And I think that's where the difference is, because anybody can just pick up a ball and just try to chuck it 60 yards. But understanding the game and slowing the game down to where, hey, pre-snap read, I see safety starting to, show me a little leverage of creeping to the middle of the field, or I see this defense end creeping inside. He might be buzzing to the flats. Any little thing that you can see an indicator, or this guy's in a 1 technique or a 3 technique. Now I know I can go opposite of the play call, or I can check into a run if I like it. Anything, those little details that you can understand early or whenever you're playing, that's what's going to separate you. And that's what's, understanding the process or the game from an IQ standpoint.
Now, Coach, one of the biggest traits and things you need as a quarterback, as we know, is to embrace that competition, right? And with Dereon, talk a little bit about him first arriving at Jones, and there was another quarterback there, Florida State commit quarterback at that. Talk about that situation and how Dereon Coleman embraced the competition, battled through adversity, and how he executed, not only going through adversity and winning the competition role, but how it ended up.
Yeah, so the thing that people don't understand is actually the situation that happened. So remember, Dereon got there first. Trevor was a junior when Dereon transferred into Jones as a freshman. And so Trevor was doing his thing, making a big name for himself in Orlando, going to the Elite 11 finals. He was actually an Ole Miss commit, ended up being at Florida State commit, but he was an Ole Miss commit at the time that he had come into Jones. And so with Trevor and Dereon, like I said, Jones already had Dereon there as a freshman. At the same time, Trevor was already making his name for himself at West Orange, was Elite 11 finalist. He was a commit to Ole Miss when he just got to Jones. So there was a lot of hype around Trevor, but Coach Will is very big on fairness. And so Trevor had to come into Jones and take Dereon's job. And so what happened was the first game that the transition was supposed to technically happen or see what was going to happen was against Jesuit, who had Will Griffin, who had a lot of attention as one of the best quarterbacks in the state. They come to Orlando and they play in the Citrus Bowl, and it's Will Griffin versus Dereon and Trevor. And Dereon got the start, and he ended up throwing 5 first-half touchdowns. And at that point, as a coach, you have a sophomore who comes in his first ever game as a Tiger, those 5 first-half touchdowns. This doesn't matter if you're a senior or whoever you are. You're not going to bench a kid like that. So when we talk about that competitive nature, Dereon Coleman is a competitor. It doesn't matter who you are. He's always going to outdo you or outshine you or outwork you. That's what I've seen his whole life. In every camp setting, he's been that same way, whether it's in a private workout or in big-time competitions with elite guys. He always wants to be right next to them competing, and that's what he loves. And I already knew the situation. I'm like, Dereon's going to come out on top, because I know from him mental standpoint, he's ready to compete and compete at a high level, and he's always won. And so when that happened at halftime, I mean, you can't bench a kid like that. So his next game is against Coco. He comes out and starts, and then from there, it was all she wrote. So Dereon, they obviously split time, but Dereon was the guy because he never gave up his job. So he had the opportunity to lose it, and he never did that because he's just that guy.
Y'all hear that? Y'all hear that, rival fans, right? I know we got a lot of rival fans.
I like what I hear. That guy.
Yeah. We had a Florida commit, a Florida State commit, and a Miami commit all in the box. And the youngest one went out on top, and Dereon Coleman. I love it. What you got, big homie?
Coach, now here you say the mental standpoint. I like that. I like that a lot, because a lot of people, they skip over everything. They just want to talk about how you throw the ball, this and that. The mental standpoint for competing. Now, I know you as a trainer, you got pretty much all your guys take that from you, because it look like you're a good leader and you know exactly what you're doing. You lean things. I see where you're going with this. I think you're going to be – I think you, from my standpoint, from what I'm seeing on how you carry yourself and stuff, I think you're one of the next top trainers not only in Florida, Central Florida, but the country. Do you agree with me? Like you wake up, I see what you're doing. I see how you market. I see how the process is going for you. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, man. I think, again, that's what separates myself from your local, your average local trainer is I'm going to do everything, the little stuff extra on the side that's taking up my time out of my day to help market these kids and hopefully, again, put them in a position to live out their dreams. That's why I take pride in, and that's why a lot of these guys, they're traveling from Canada, Seattle, Oklahoma, Virginia, Ohio, Texas. I mean, they're traveling. We're talking making weekend trips and vacations out of this just to train with me, and it's very humbling. But because I promote the kids, I'm all about that. Now, obviously, there's a difference between likes and retweets. That's kind of like a little slogan that I say. You're going to see who my top guys are based off the likes and the retweets and the postings that I do. But at the end of the day, I market the elite kids. And honestly, my job is to weed you out. I don't want to train everybody. Everybody may want to train with me, but I don't want to train everybody. I want the guys that want to put the work in. So if you ever watch a training of mine, my job is to weed you out. So my training is so hard that sometimes kids will quit or, parents may say they're not ready or what have you. But that's my job, because if you stick it out, chances are you're going to live your dreams, because I only want the elite around me. If that's how you're going to train, I train a 5-year-old just like I train a pro guy. I don't dummy down this position, not your good job, coach. And I'm very strict and very attention to detail. And, I take pride in that. And the only way that people would see that is if they obviously come check me out or see my work. But I'm very big on that. And, I take this seriously, and just like these kids, I have to understand they chose the hardest position in all of sports. And if they chose that then you have to understand the severity of where I'm coming from as your trainer, because I want to make sure you're that guy, because my resume is how you perform on the field. That would show you the work that we're putting in on the side is how you're performing on a week-to-week basis. And so I take pride in that. So my guys are going to go out there and be consistent and be elite. And it's been fortunate enough for that to happen at a high level. And I continue to get better and continue to learn. And I'm not a guru by any means. I'm still learning it myself in this space, but I do take pride in that. And again, it's all about these kids, and hopefully God's using me as an avenue to get them to where they want to be.
Yeah, Coach. I mean, you talked about earlier in the show, the resume that you bring to the table. You have so many guys that you have been able to develop and train throughout the years. And like you mentioned, a lot of these guys become elite, but to your point, unfortunately, there are going to be some guys that just you have to weed out, right? Regardless if a guy cuts it or doesn't cut it through your program, what do you feel like has been the biggest obstacle that you have seen, especially with this new generation of quarterbacks that they have gone through, whether it's on the football field or even off of it? When we're talking Canes and Gators, the temperature is always hot, but so is the Gator Nuggets over at Henry Lee's Southern Barbecue Food Truck in Dade City, Florida. They're open from 12 to 7 on Wednesdays and Thursdays, 12 to 8 on Fridays. And you can also follow them on X at @Alda_the_wild to check out where they will be daily on their locations. You can also call them at 352-410-0754. Not only do they have the best Gator Nuggets I've ever tasted, but they also got the popular lemon pepper Gator Nuggets as well. So please make sure you stop by Henry Lee's Southern Barbecue Food Truck in Dade City, Florida. They're open from 12 to 7 on Wednesdays and Thursdays, 12 to 8 on Fridays. And you can also reach them at 352-410-0754 and also on X. That's at @Alda_the_wild.
Well, that's a good question. Biggest obstacle is hearing and understanding the truth. I think a lot of kids, they don't understand the truth of where they are, especially parents. They all think their kids are Division I. They all think, oh, we're going after this offer. At the end of the day, guys, if your kid's not performing, I can have all the context in the world, and my job will get your kid in front of these coaches. But if you don't have the talent, they're not going to offer you. At the end of the day, these coaches have to offer you. I'm not the one offering you. All I can do is make sure you're in a position to get that offer. And so these parents have got to understand, any level is good. D1, D2, D3, D-free. That's how I say it. If it's D-free and they're paying for your education, you need to go. And so a lot of these parents get caught up in my kid's a D1 kid, or it's only D1 this. No, at the end of the day, if your college getting paid for, that's what matters. And so these parents need to stop being delusional and be realistic about where their kids stand. And that's been some tough conversations. Let these parents know, hey, your kid is not, not an elite talent, or not saying not elite, because I think they're all elite, but they're just not what these coaches are looking for right now. And so, I'm not a big measurable guy. I believe any kid that has the opportunity to be elite, they can be any size to play at the highest level. But at the end of the day, it's going to be the coach's decision whether they want to take the kid or not, or offer scholarship. I mean, these guys, their jobs are on the line. They offer kids because they see that they can put their jobs and their careers on a kid that they obviously are offering. And so no coach is going to just hand out offers to kids if they don't think that they can ultimately save their job in the future. And so these parents got to understand, at any level, if your kid has the opportunity to be part of that 3%, which is any level of college football, to play beyond high school, that's a great opportunity. Just because it's not D1, it might not be what you want, but at the end of the day, isn't the opportunity to play college what we're doing this for? And so having those tough conversations and being realistic with these kids' expectations is probably one of the most difficult, other than the fact that they have to figure out ways to come travel to see me. That might be also difficult during my time doing this. But yeah, those are the conversations that are probably the toughest, to let these parents know, hey, your kids might not be Division I, but I'm not saying they're not good enough, because I take pride in that. Hopefully every kid that I train that sticks out through my program, by the end of their senior year, they should be signing a scholarship somewhere. It might not be, again, at the highest level, but at the end of the day, my job is to get your kid to go to college.
And to your point, Coach, right? I mean, it's not just the parents too, right? I think kids as well got to understand the truth sometimes, especially with the world of social media right now. I mean, some of these kids, unfortunately, no matter how many camps you go to, your hello, my name is not going to be D1, D2, or D3. It's going to be Timmy, right? And once your name's Timmy, I'm going to give you a Greyhound ticket and you're going to go see Big Homie on the bus, right? So at the end of the day, you got to understand the truth. And I like that, especially with the parents and the kids as well. Big Homie, what's up?
Okay, Coach, I got a quick question about these kids nowadays, because you back talking about the process. That's another thing I like about you. Now, let's say a kid go to a college and they wasn't number one on the board, but the university took 2 quarterbacks. Then they always want to transfer. How you feel about the transfer portal? You think people not taking accountability and all? Because I know it can be good, but then sometimes we didn't see people jump in the portal and they done went to 2-3 schools, and some vanished for, we never see them again. How you feel about the transfer portal?
Yeah, so I have the pros and the cons of the portal. I'm going to go with the cons first. My goal as a quarterback trainer is to make sure my kids are positioned in programs where they're number one or in that top tier when they commit. So whether they're in the portal trying to find a home or they're in high school right now, my job is to have those conversations with these quarterback coaches so that my guys don't end up in positions where they're not already going to be in a place to win. And so, for your Noah Grubbs, your Brady Harts, your Dereon Colemans, those conversations I'm having with all of their quarterback coaches, with Coach G at Notre Dame, with Coach Campbell at Michigan, with Coach Dawson at Miami. Hey, these guys, these 3 or 4 names are in our top tier. If any one of these guys want to commit, we're only taking 1 per class. So I already know that information. And then based on my conversations, I'll know where these 1, 2, 3, 4 kids are ranked, where they would like to see or who they ultimately want. And so by having those conversations, I'm able to guide my players as a chess piece and say, hey, this program has you in the top tier, but this is your number one over here. And so I'm able to do those through those conversations. And a lot of these coaches are honest with me because they know the longevity of me being in this business. So they're not going to lie. Whereas they will tell a kid, hey, you're a number one, knowing they probably have 2, 3 other names that they rather take as a commitment, but they're not saying they wouldn't take you. I'm just saying you want to be at where you are the guy that they want to bet their business on. And so me being that middleman as their trainer, I've been blessed enough to have those conversations with my guys. So that way, when they do commit, they are the guy that these programs want, which gives them the opportunity to compete and not be kind of thrown to the side. My kids will never go to a place that they're taking more than 1 quarterback because I already know that's setting up, or at least they'll be the first to commit. If they grab a walk-on late on, I mean, that's different. They're just trying to get numbers because you have to meet a certain number in a quarterback room in college football. So if that happens, that's okay. But my guys will always be first to the punch. And I take pride in that because, again, my conversations with those coaches. So my job is to avoid the transfer portal, to give my guys the best opportunity to compete. And if it happens to be in the portal, 2-3 years down the road, that's going to be a conversation that, we'll have, but that's not the goal. I don't want none of my guys thinking, hey, I'm going here to hit the portal. Nope, we're not doing it. You're going to be at the top tier and you're going to compete and hopefully be the guy, whether it's your freshman year, your redshirt freshman year, sophomore year, whatever that looks like, however the plan is, you're going because this place wants you and you are their top guy. So the 3 guys that recently committed, I know for sure they're number one on their boards because I've had conversations and these guys are attacking my guys in the recruiting process. And so that's number one. But here's the positive. So then I have guys like Aiden Warner, and guys like C.J. Brooks. So C.J. just committed to Bethune-Cookman. He was at VUL last year as a starting quarterback. And then you have Aiden Warner, who was at Yale, who's now at the University of Florida. And so they went out and did their part. So they went to lower tier schools and they balled out. Aiden was a scout team guy because they had a senior quarterback last year, but he did so well in scout team. I knew he was elite. He was 6'4" and can move. He's mobile. He's a dual threat kid. So I knew if I can get some scout team tape on him, he was going to come back to, the state. And now he's at the University of Florida. And then you have C.J. Brooks, who was at VUL, Virginia University of Lynchburg, lit it up last year. And now he's at Bethune-Cookman. So that's in a sense where the portal helps my guys, where they're going to go and compete at a lower level, be the guy, or at least put up some good film. That way I can help market them to go to bigger schools. So if my guys are already landing at the Division I level, there's really no reason to, use that as a portal thing. But if my guys are going to level like D2, D3, NAIA, or even FCS or whatever, if they want to go to the highest level, then the portal could be an asset for them to do so. And now Aiden's living his dream at the University of Florida. So I think those are cool, instances. But again, the motive is not to go to a school to hit the portal. It's to go compete, earn the job, be the guy. And then if you get money through the NIL through a bigger school, or you want to go chase your dream school, whatever that looks like, then we can have those conversations, and the portal's used to get to that, that avenue. But I'm not a big fan of the portal, especially it's hurting the high school kids getting recruited. But at the end of the day, that's just the way the game is. So you have to learn, trainers have to learn, kids have to learn to adapt to the new way. And now, most programs would take 2 kids per class. Well, guess what? Now you have 1 high school kid, and you're going to have probably 1 portal kid. Those are your 2 kids.
The time in what you said, Coach. You absolutely right about that. It is kind of messing the high school because this summer, this is the most commits I've seen in a summer, I think, ever.
The thing about this is the most commits we've seen in the 26 class.
Hold that thought 1 second, guys. But I need all my storm chasers, all the viewers and listeners to please continue to hit that like, subscribe button. You're tuned in to Category 6 Sports. All right, we are back with Coach Baylin Trujillo, my co-host, Big Homie, and we are talking Dereon Coleman. Man, you want to talk about one of the most interesting prospects in the 2026 class. And this young man committing to the program, in the 10th grade. I know, Coach, you have been on record about saying out of all these quarterbacks that you have mentioned throughout the show that you have been able to train on your resume, this young man, Dereon Coleman, might be the most impressive, the most talented young man you've ever coached and developed. And he's only in 10th grade. Explain to us and the viewers and the listeners why you feel this way about Dereon Coleman, and talk about how much room for improvement this young man has with 2 more years under his belt in high school football.
Yeah, I mentioned early in your show. I got to see him develop since he was 10 years old. It's true development. That is building someone from the ground up. And so being a part of that process, that's why I'm able to confidently say he's the most elite arm I've ever trained. Again, I train a lot of great kids, a lot of elite arms. I'm not saying they don't have elite arms. I'm talking about from someone where I've literally seen throw a youth football now to where he's throwing an NFL ball with ease at 160 pounds, throwing 63 yards on 1 foot. It's freakish. It's unreal. It's things I've never seen before. And, when we talk about what he can improve on, it's, getting faster, bigger, smarter, and stronger. I think those are your things. And Dereon is the home run hit. He is the lottery pick. It's always easy to go after your 6'4", 220-pound quarterback. It's so easy to do that because they pass the measurable eye test. Well, Dereon Coleman has worked for everything he's ever gotten. He's earned everything because of how he plays. He plays big. And so when you play big, that's why you see 20-plus offers at 6'1", 160 pounds. You know why? Because the same pitch that I give to these college coaches is the same pitch that you see on the field. He is the lottery pick. In 2 years, he's going to be bigger, faster, stronger, and smarter. So that he's not getting worse than what you already see right now. So he's only going to get better. And if he's already this elite, then what do you have to lose? That's why the University of Miami is like, we're going to bet on this. We see where it's headed, and he could be the next Cameron Ward. There's so many similarities between Cameron Ward's game and Dereon Coleman's game that you're going to see the next Cameron Ward in 2 years. We have 2 more years before he even steps foot at the University of Miami. So he's only going to get bigger and faster. Let's say he gains another 20 pounds. What does Dereon Coleman look like at 6'1.5", 185 pounds as a freshman coming in at University of Miami? Now we're talking about someone who's dangerous. Now we're talking about someone who's really ready to compete for the job right now as a true freshman, which I think he will be in the next 2 years when he gets to UM. I think he's going to be a guy that you're going to see play early because of how I know he's been worked and trained and developed over these last 7 years now, obviously in high school under Coach Williams. So he's only going to get those things. And, I'm super excited about Dereon where he's headed because, again, he's the type of kid that's going to go win a Heisman Trophy. He's going to go lead a team to a national championship. He's going to help recruit. He is the culture of Miami. If you are around Dereon, because the only way to really understand him is to be around him, because he's more introverted. He's a video game kid that loves to go train, work out, get home, and just relax and lay down and just play video games. That's all he does. He's not a troublemaker. He doesn't smoke. He's not in gangs. He does nothing wrong. He's a great student. So he does everything the right way. So again, when I say he's earned everything, it's because he's done it the right way, and he's done it at a high level and competes with everything that he does. He hates even losing on Fortnite and NBA 2K. He hates it. He just can't stand it. So that's who he is. He's just a true competitor. And so that's why I'm excited about this kid going to Miami, because he is the lottery pick. I think, obviously I want Miami to win national titles, and I believe we got the guy that's going to do it because I've seen it from my own eyes. And again, his journey is for everybody to see. Go on YouTube, type in Dereon Coleman, Baylin Trujillo. You're going to see all our training since he was 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 years old, all the way up till now. You're going to see recent training, and you can't tell me after watching his videos that you don't have the wow factor that blows you away. You turn on his tape from Jones, there's not a single throw on the field he can't make. So it's interesting when people talk about measurables and talk about, he might be a little undersized. Well, no one's complaining about his play. No one's complaining about how big he plays or how good he is on the field. Why? Because he is that guy. That's why he has 20-plus offers, splitting half a time in his sophomore season, and has full scholarships and now is committed to University of Miami. And we're talking about Miami and Oklahoma are his two top schools. You don't think those two schools are powerhouses that recruit really well, especially at that position? So let's not fool ourselves. Dereon is the real deal, and that's why I can confidently say, because I've developed him for 7 years, he is the most elite arm I've ever trained.
When we're talking Canes and Gators, the temperature is always hot, but so is the Gator Nuggets over at Henry Lee's Southern Barbecue Food Truck in Dade City, Florida. They're open from 12 to 7 on Wednesdays and Thursdays, 12 to 8 on Fridays, and you can also follow them on X at @Alda_the_wild to check out where they will be daily on their locations. You can also call them at 352-410-0754. Not only do they have the best Gator Nuggets I've ever tasted, but they also got the popular lemon pepper Gator Nuggets as well. So please make sure you stop by Henry Lee's Southern Barbecue Food Truck in Dade City, Florida. They're open from 12 to 7 on Wednesdays and Thursdays, 12 to 8 on Fridays. And you can also reach them at 352-410-0754 and also on X. That's at @Alda_the_wild.
Now, with you going playing in South Florida, and the coach you say he currently playing for now played at Florida Gators and the Atlanta Falcons, I think he got a head start on a lot of people just from the background, from the training and the coaches. Could you elaborate on that?
100%. And that's, again, part of the chess piece that me and his dad had always planned for his life, is to eventually get him to play under Coach Elijah Williams. And because I know what he did I'm speaking out of experience. I can't tell you nothing I don't know. Just like when I train kids, I can't tell you something that I don't already know or can help you in. So when I know what Coach Will did for me in the 1 year I was at Oak Ridge my senior year when he was the head coach, and how he completely changed my mental standpoint. He was a mentor to me. He was like a second father figure to me. He took care of me. I knew based off, and he was all about discipline. He doesn't care who you are. He cut our two best players when I was my senior. He cut our two best players and helped them transfer. That's who he is. He doesn't care. So he's going to teach you the right way to do life outside of just the game of football. And so having that mentorship on top of Dereon, like you said, he's already got a head start. He's been with me. He's been with his dad for, before he got to Jones, and now he's at Jones for now a year and a half. He is literally just stacking and stacking and stacking on top of his development, where he's going to be an elite, built, well-round quarterback by the time he hits the University of Miami in 2 years, where I don't see him not being the starter as a true freshman at the University of Miami, and hopefully winning us ACC or whatever conference we're in at that point and national titles, because I believe he is the next generational elite phenom talent that will be a first-round draft pick with multiple Heisman opportunities and hopefully a couple championships.
Now, Coach, you've been doing a lot of interviews about, our guy Dereon Coleman. I want you to tell the viewers and the listeners that may have not heard any other of the interviews, give us an interesting story or fact about Dereon, whether it's on or off the football field. whether it kind of attributes to his leadership off the field or maybe just the athleticism that he brings to the table that people just aren't aware of. Just something that most people haven't heard of Dereon Coleman.
Dereon runs a 4.5 40. I mean, no one even talks, and he's a true dual threat, and he likes to throw the ball in the pocket, but the guy can move. And so most people, I mean, he is considered dual threat on Rivals and 24/7. They have him ranked in the top 10 in the country in those categories. But, he can move, and he's very freakishly athletic, and he has bigger hands than me. I'm at 6'2", and he has bigger hands than me at 6'1". He wears like a size 12 cleat. He's long, he's rangy, and I think we haven't even seen the ceiling of where this kid can go from a developmental standpoint with his body. I think by the end of this, he'll be 6'3". His dad's 6'3". His mom's like 5'9", 5'10". So there's room to grow, and he's only rising junior. So I think by the end of this, he'll be 6'3", 185, 190 pounds, and he's going to he might arguably be the number one quarterback in the country when it's all said and done, and arguably the best class of quarterbacks in the history of this game. And, with the transfer portal and how these guys are recruiting now, we've never seen this magnitude of 26 kids, or let's just not even talk about the class, sophomores committing. We've never seen that. It's always been junior year, end of junior year, or summer going into senior year when these kids commit. Now they're, with the way the portal is, these kids are committing before they're even juniors. We've never seen that, especially this quarterback position. 8 of the top 10 quarterbacks in the entire country are all committed right now. We've never seen it. They still have 2 years of high school. So, I mean, with that being said, I mean, Dereon's at the top of that list. He's going to Miami. He is Miami's commit. They could have taken any one of these guys, and he ends up landing with Dereon Coleman. And I'm just, again, blessed enough to be his trainer and develop him and get him in this position to be a Hurricane. But I honestly think, man, with this whole class, I mean, I had Joe Salone, and this is on record because I have text message proof. Joe Salone is the quarterback coach at LSU. He told me, if Dereon ever gets a 6'2" or 6'3", he will give him every single dollar at the University of Louisiana University that in the building, point blank. That's how good he is. He's seen all the guys throw live across the country. Seth Littrell said the same thing. Dereon is the most elite twitched quarterback they've ever seen. And these are top-level college coaches. Same thing with Shannon Dawson. Same thing with all these guys that recruited him. And these are coming from guys that are just seeing him as a sophomore at 165 pounds. Imagine what that thing is going to look like in 2 years from now. And that's why I know Miami hit the home run when they got Dereon Coleman. That's why a lot of Hurricane fans should be excited, because they got the lottery once-in-a-lifetime kid that's going to be special and something we're going to talk about for years to come.
Now, you done did this man, the coach who you played for, a favor. You done did us a favor. Now, only other favor I ask for you is to put that weight on him. And that's all I need is weight. I don't care about his height. He can throw that ball, because you just told me he'll do a threat and he run a 4.5. Some ain't know. So if you can just put that weight on him, you'll be doing us a big favor. The sky's the limit, Coach. I like what you're doing.
Oh, yeah. No, and his head coach literally forces him to eat before and after every workout every day. And I've literally been at his house where Coach will send Uber of protein powder to his house and make sure he is getting his protein. And so the goal is obviously to put on some mass, and he understands that. And he's, again, he's put on 15 pounds just since last year. So last August, he's already 15 pounds up. So, again, our goal is about 185, 190 by the end of 2 years. And I think it's easy achievable if he just puts the work in and continues to just gain weight. But I think it's coming. So I think that's not a hard task to do in 2 years. And don't worry, our quarterback's going to be ready when he's putting on that U and representing the Hurricanes.
Absolutely, Coach, man. And blessings to you for all the hard work that you have done throughout the years, right? I mean, you've done at least 10 plus years of this, and with all the talent gone through advanced quarterback camp, man, just kudos to you. And Big Homie talks about favors. I got 2 favors, right? My first favor is I need you, Coach, to let these fans, listeners, viewers, everyone tuned into Category 6 Sports, where they can find your work, whether it's on a social media platform or if there's any future quarterbacks that are wanting to go through your camp and gauntlet, where they could find you.
Yeah, so you can find me on BTrue QB Training on my Instagram or on my Twitter, and my main page Instagram is my first and last name, as you see here. It's Baylin Trujillo, at Baylin Trujillo. So you just type my first and last name, I'll pop up. I'm more active on Twitter. I'm posting almost every single day about something, whether one of my elite guys is doing outside, whether it's a training, an offer, or conversations, articles, anything like that. I'm really promoting and pushing. So you can find me on those 3 different platforms, or you can go on my website at BaylinTrujillo.com. You'll see my training schedule there, my camp schedule, videos, YouTube links to that, where you see all my elite training, stuff like that. So that has like pretty much all my access with my number, my email, all on that as well. So those are where you can find me, and hopefully if you're listening, we start to get rolling.
Man, one favor is out the window. My second favor is I need all the storm chasers to please make sure you hit that like, subscribe button, and continue to tune in to Category 6 Sports. And Coach, again, thank you so much for chopping it up with us, and me and Big Homie, man. We are going to continue to watch you and help and do anything we need to do as a Miami Hurricane fan base to be on board, not only with Dereon, but any of the success you have in the future, man. You reach us, do whatever you need us to do, man, but you continue to do great work out there. And we appreciate you stopping by and taking this interview at Category 6 Sports.
No doubt, man. I appreciate you guys. It's all glory to God. It's He's the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing and where I get my passion, my purpose from, because we all have a purpose, and I think I found mine. And again, anything I can do to help you guys or, the kids I obviously train, get them promoted and put them on platforms like this, that's what it's all about. Because at the end of the day, it's about them, not about us. It's about promoting those kids and having fun with it. And as Hurricane fans, we finally got one. At least I did, and I'm excited about that. And so thank you guys for having me on your platform to promote the kids that I train, especially Dereon Coleman, who's now a recent Miami Hurricanes commit. So you will see him in the green and orange and stay in the green and orange like Jones is. And I'm looking forward to him hopefully bringing us some championships and some titles. So again, thank you guys for that. And you'll see us around. Make sure you follow my social media pages, because I will let you know when me and Dereon will be in Miami for games. We're also planning on going to the Gator game, so you might catch us there early tailgating before we go into the game there. So you're going to see me and Dereon a lot, especially down south at most of the home games, especially the Florida State game. We're already penciled in for that. So I look forward to that. And if you see us, say hi. Go Canes.
Let's get it, man. Future quarterback of the program will be there August 31st. Make sure you chop it up with Coach and Dereon. And you are here tuned in to Category 6 Sports. Me and Homie, we out.